Okay.
And just do that as part of the exec report.
Yeah. Okay.
That is moved. Okay, great.
Hello, everybody. It's Les here. Congratulations to get this all set up. And I'm sat in a traffic jam on the M6.
Oh,
no!
Great. So I'll mute now. I'll listen in.
Well done for joining us, Les.
Remember, Les, don't vote and drive.
Very good.
Okay, well, I make it past. So I think the formal matter should begin.
Okay.
So hello, everyone, whether you're joining us live or whether you're coming to us recorded. I'm James Taylor. I'm the chair of the Permaculture Association, chair of the Board of Trustees. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the annual general meeting 2017 of the Permaculture Association. So whether you've attended an AGM before or not, you'll have noticed that we're doing things a little differently. And it's probably worthwhile answering the question, why are you doing it like this? So we have a few different reasons. For many reasons, it's not always possible for everybody to attend the events the association puts on. There could be time commitments, cost, the location of the event, personal mobility issues. And that makes it difficult for people to attend some events. So we're trying something else. We're trying this online version. And this won't work for everybody either. No one solution will work for everybody. But we hope by using a diversity of approaches, we'll value the diversity of our members, and that some people will be able to attend this who have not been able to attend a meeting previously. A second reason is moving a lot of people around the country for a short event can be quite energy intensive, and all technology has an impact, including the internet, but the internet's opened up new options to us as an alternative to transportation. So we're creatively using and responding to change and trying to use this new technology as another way of speaking. And finally, as permaculturists, we learn by doing, by trying stuff out and experimenting. And that's what we're doing right now. And as you'll know, when you try things out and you experiment, things don't always work perfectly. Sometimes things go wrong, and that may well happen tonight. So I hope you'll bear with us as we're all action learning together. Okay, so how this will work is you'll see various members of the board and the CEO talk at different times. And there's also a number of slides that will appear on screen. First slide for us to look at perhaps is the agenda for the meeting. So this will give you an overview of what's happening this evening. So you'll see that the first thing on the agenda is a review of last year's minutes for matters arising. So I think our next slide will give us the minutes for the 2016 meeting. So perhaps we can move on to that slide. As well as the people you can see, there's other members of Permaculture Association staff in the background kind of helping make this happen. Okay, so on your screen now is the minutes of the 2016 meeting, which perhaps some of you were at. So I think we can see from these minutes that there were no matters arising from the 2016 annual general meeting that we need to take forward to this meeting. So on the matter of minutes, the next matter on the agenda is agreeing a minute taker. For many years we've benefited from Helen White, staff member at the association, taking minutes. Helen is taking a holiday at the moment. So I am proposing that Andy is the minute taker for this meeting. And if perhaps someone could second me on that.
I'll second.
Great, so that's seconded by Sandy James. So the next section on the agenda is the chair's report. So the year in review here is the period from July 2016 to June 2017. And this is a period which outside the permaculture world has been very much marked by a series of large political changes. The UK's vote to leave the European Union and political changes elsewhere in the world have very much kind of created a new political scene. And many issues that we'd have heard talked about in the news media about environment, farming, food, social issues are very much the sort of stuff that we talk about as permaculturists. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. So it might be a curse to live in interesting times, but we might also be people that are ready to rise up to those times. In that period since the vote and when it actually implements, it's a difficult financial time, as no doubt many of you have experienced yourself, and difficult for a lot of organisations in the third sector and kind of charities. So it's kind of great that that you all continue to be members and contribute in that way to the work that the Permaculture Association does in the UK and contributes to permaculture also around the world. And it's also great that the staff of the association have continued to find and access funding routes that allow us to function as an organisation. And one thing that's particularly pleasing to me is that in an era of new political isolationism, that we, as an association, we're continuing to engage with friends and partners around the world, and especially with people in Europe, which we've long had associations with through various different organisations, and will hopefully continue to do so in the future, no matter what the end decision of Brexit is. So this is my last AGM as chair of the Board of Trustees of the Permaculture Association. I'm stepping down at this meeting. So I'd also just like to express my thanks to the other members of the board, to the staff of the association, and to all of the members that have kind of made the association what it is across the period of time that I've had the pleasure of being chair and will continue to do so in the future. So now I'd like to hand over to Philip Blandford, who is the Treasurer of the Board of Trustees, and he'll give us a Treasurer's report. So we're going to hand over to you, Philip.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just working out how to unmute. So it's another really quite interesting set of accounts from a financial point of view. In the last set, we had the IPC, and this year we've had significant income in. So we're well above our audit threshold again this year. So we've got income of just over 680,000, which is more income than we've been, and gives some indication as to how the association is expanding its reach and really developing as a successful delivery partner. Fantastic, thank you. On the expenditure side, 400,000 were where we were expecting expenditure to be. We've spent unrestricted funds up front to develop our charitable training activities that will enable us to deliver on our charitable aims without relying on additional funding, which has knocked our unrestricted surplus this year. But in future years, we expect that situation to turn around and to gradually build again. We've got a surplus of 280,000, just over 280,000 for the year. That's really money that we've had up front for delivering future grant-funded work, which is a really good thing. And in the coming years, we'll have deficits as that money spent. Our balance sheet is dominated by the big increase of cash due to these funds, and in future years will go back down. So to conclude, this year's accounts really show how the association has built on hosting the IPC, and that we'll continue to monitor our use of unrestricted funds to make sure that we start building up those unrestricted reserves again, so that we can weather any potential storms in the future. The next thing I just need to go on to is the appointment of auditors. So for 2 years now, we've had an audit from the same auditor. He parted company with the firm of auditors that we originally dealt with, and has now moved to a new set of auditors, a new audit company. We're confident, and the transfer between the two companies has been very amicable between both the companies and between us and the auditor. So I propose that we have Third Sector Accountancy Limited as our auditors again next year. If someone could second that.
Yes, Seconder in Chief.
Thank you very much, Sandy. And that's the Treasurer's report. I'm happy to take any questions if people have got them, and you want to email them into the office. I'm happy to get back to you.
Great, thank you, Philip, for that report. So the next item on the agenda is a report from the Chief Executive, reflecting on the year that we're looking at, and also with a nod towards plans for the future, so you can get a sense both of where we've been and where we're going. So I hand over to Andy Goldring, the Chief Executive.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for joining. It's been a very interesting year, as it has been for a few years. I think we're doing well to develop a whole wide range of projects. Wanted to start with a reminder about what our vision, mission and aims were. A vision of an abundant world in which we care for the earth, each other and future generations, whilst living within nature's limits. Our mission being to empower people to design thriving communities across Britain and contribute to permaculture worldwide. And our aims being to improve access to permaculture, enhance collaboration within permaculture and related networks, nurture and grow permaculture networks, increase knowledge of the benefits of permaculture within society, develop permaculture theory and practice, and build an effective and sustainable organisation. And I think the reason I wanted to put them up at the beginning is to really emphasise that genuinely, as an organisation, as a team of staff and volunteers and working groups, we really take these seriously, and we work towards them in many kind of very concrete ways. So whenever we're developing a new project or a new activity, we look at the vision, mission and aims, and we think through how can we meet the aims and the objectives within the aims, how can we help to make sure that all of our activities are contributing towards those? Okay, so we've put out what I think is another really lovely annual review that will have gone out to all of you over the last few days. I think that went out on Monday, and that sets out some really fantastic work that we've done. And I'm not going to try and repeat all the detail here. That would be silly. You can read that at your leisure. But I guess I'll just pick out some of the key highlights from the last year and give you a flavour of what's been going on. So I think one of the things to say is we've got a growing and effective staff team. More people than I can quite believe, actually. It's quite astonishing. We after the land project, we thought we were going to get smaller again, and because of the international permaculture convergence, we actually grew in size. And again, after the international permaculture convergence, we thought maybe we would be in for a period of contraction. But somehow, I think just through the dedication of staff and a couple of bits of good luck, we've attracted some funds. We've been successful in some of the charitable trading we've done, and we've been able to build up to, I think, 22 people now on a part-time basis. So it works out around 7 full-time equivalents, but it's a very significant number of people, and I can absolutely tell you that they work incredibly hard. One of the comments I think you'll find in the annual report or the annual review comes from one of the new staff members, and yeah, they're quite astonished by the way that we work in a good way. So I think we've got a great team that's located both in Leeds but actually all across the UK. But the reason we get a lot done is actually because we've got a fantastic group of committed volunteers and working groups. And the number of people that help the Permaculture Association is the same as the number of people that we've got working on a paid level. I don't mean in terms of the number of people, but the number of hours. So really, volunteers and working groups double what we could possibly do in the office, and then connect us out much more widely to people that we wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. So it's a huge thank you, as ever, to all of our fantastic committed volunteers and working groups. Over the last year, we've had some really exciting projects. So there's the GROW project, which is primarily about soil, citizen science. And I think it wouldn't be unfair to say it's been a difficult first year, in as much as it's a big project, €5.5 million, 16 different partners, a lot to work out. And that has sometimes been tricky for us as a small organization to work with. But we've done that, and all the people we're working with are there trying to make it work as well. And I think we've really now got to the stage where the project's going to take off in a really exciting way. So I'll be looking out for some regenerative practice experiments coming soon. We've also have a Children in Permaculture project, which continues to deliver some really fantastic resources for education. And I know that's already made some links in England, Scotland, Wales, and in 6 or 7 European countries as well. So that's brought together a lot of what we know about working with children and extended that further in a really interesting way. One of the most complex projects that we've had is being called the Permaculture Collab. And the Collab is the collaborative laboratory. And this is where really the Permaculture Association is taking a lead internationally to see how we can contribute to this kind of global network, global movement that we're part of. Up until the international convergence in London, we did a lot of work around the project called the Next Big Step project, which was trying to find out what people needed to become more effective globally, or to support each other globally. And after the international convergence in London, we kind of cohered that into a project called the Collab. And over the last year, we've been testing different ways that we can work online internationally, and we've had a great group of volunteers helping us from a number of different countries. And over the coming couple of weeks, we're preparing to go to India and present what we've done and get ready for the next phase, which will be about starting a host of new projects to develop the sort of resources and the mutual support that will enable us to flourish as an international network. The Ambassadors Project has made a fantastic start over the last year. It's been working to develop resources that will enable you as members to be confident and successful in passing on messages and engaging people in permaculture work. The Scotland work and the Welsh development has again done a lot of networking and project development. So some really excellent projects to be pleased about, and some good progress there. In terms of network building, how permaculture relates to the wider network of people trying to make, bring about world change in a positive way. We've again done some really good work around the European Permaculture Network, been very much involved in that. The People's Food Policy, Ecolease, which is the European network that brings together permaculture, transition, eco-village networks, and other community-led sustainability initiatives. So I think some really good network building within permaculture, but then connecting permaculture to this wider group of allied organisations. And alongside this, we've done a lot of enterprising work. So we've been developing our events. We're very pleased to say that after the IPC, we thought maybe we could continue doing events and get them to pay for themselves rather than needing funding all the time. And we took on Dan Hurring, who's done a fantastic job, put on a range of different events, and it's self-financing. It's fantastic. So it's meeting our aims in a way which means that we can continue to do this without needing funds from a funder. Likewise, membership's done really well, diploma's doing really well, and we've got a new educator membership, which I think to date has about 25, 26 educators involved, which is fantastic for the first few weeks. So we're trying to balance the charitable work that we do from funds from funders with work that we do ourselves through basically making sales. So it's a mix of charitable and entrepreneurial, and that gives us a real strength to be able to have a solid sort of self-reliant base for the organisation's work. And then I think it would be crazy and terrible for me not to mention our fantastic support services. So the work of Helen to do the accounts, Harriet to do the office, Nicola and Nigel doing 7 websites, Ryan doing fantastic communications. I mean, really, I should name everyone, but I just think that some of the people behind the scenes really do deserve a fantastic vote of thanks. And yeah, so basically we're bigger than we were before. We're doing really exciting work. We're pushing ourselves. We're going to the edge of what we've done before and beyond that. A real commitment to innovate. Not for the sake of it, but because we want to learn and we want to get good at what we do. And we really, really are driven by that vision, mission and aims to make a better world. And I think it's wonderful to work not just in a staff team, but also in a membership where there's so many people committed to doing really positive work. So thank you for being part of that group. So just finally, I wanted to say some thoughts about the year ahead and what we might be doing in 2018. And you know, it's a challenge to balance a plan where you know what's going to happen with a more emergent approach to seeing how you can respond to the opportunities as they arise. We kind of try and balance that tension between having a plan and being open to what comes up. But some things we can say for sure, and one of those is that we're absolutely committed to better engaging the members in our work, in our work. We really want to find out how we can help, how you can help each other, what are the needs that you've got, what are your aspirations, your hopes for the future, and how can we be an enabling organisation that really supports you to take leadership in your own communities, your own projects. The Permaculture Association can't do permaculture in Britain. We can't do it for anyone. It has to be done by people in all the different localities and the communities and the farms and the schools and the businesses across Britain. It's you that make it happen. We're here to help make that happen. So it's always important for us to think about how we can really engage and support the members of the organisation, and also see how we can provide resources that benefit the wider permaculture network, people that aren't necessarily signed up as members. Part of how we want to do that is to develop some new partnerships with other organisations and networks to see how we can achieve our aims through kind of collaborative projects. and that might be, I probably shouldn't name any names just yet, but there are various institutions and organisations that we're keen to have discussions with to think about how we can support the professional development of members, how we can support them to get secure more funds, how we can help them to be entrepreneurial, and so on. So, yeah, I think a real emphasis on looking to see how we can work with others. Another thing that's important for us always is to keep developing our team skills and enhance our offerings of learning, networking, and events. But really, we don't think we've got everything. There's other services I'm sure we can provide, and we'd love to hear from you to find out what you think that might be. But we want to get really good at everything that we do, really good quality, and that means we've got to keep developing our skills and keep improving our processes. So we really are a kind of an organisation that likes to get your feedback. That is indeed a permaculture principle. And then I think in terms of kind of big work, and maybe really pushing our edge, we're hosting an event in March which really seeks to put permaculture at the heart of the kind of world that we want. And it's called Control Shift. It's going to happen in Wigan in March. We've got about 20 organisations on board so far. We'll be sending invitations out in a couple of weeks' time. We want to bring about 120 different organisations together, from environment, economy, social justice, land, democracy, and have a bit of a rethink. With this Brexit and the world in a really precarious state, we think it's time for a rethink. So we're going to say Control Shift. How can we? How else could we do it? There's some fantastic policies and recommendations from many different organisations. We know there are some fantastic practices that, if they were scaled up, could work right across the country. And we really want to make our case and also make the case for collaboration across the many different fantastic organisations in Britain that are doing great work. So yeah, look out for Control Shift, big event in Wigan in March. We're really going to put our head above the parapet and say, we think we can do it better. And that, I think, is a general theme of next year, is actually to maybe just to be a bit more vocal about how permaculture thinks we could make, we could enhance earth care, people care and fair shares. We've got some stuff to say. We've got 40 years of experience now, and some fantastic projects, all thanks to you as members. And we want to go out there, promote them, and talk about how Britain and the world could be a bit different if more of these kind of practices were adopted across the world, and here in England, Scotland and Wales and Ireland. And so I think that's me for the year ahead. And I guess the last thing I'd say is really just to commend thank Ryan and all the staff for putting together the annual review, and really ask you to read it, because it'll give you the detail about what we've done. And if there's anything in there you want to find out more about, have a look on the website or get in touch. If you've got questions or comments about how we can improve what we do, we really genuinely want to hear from you. So please do get in touch. So I'll end there. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Andy. So the next part of our agenda here is one of the more formal elements, which is the election of officers to the Board of Trustees. Andy mentioned in his talk about how being a volunteer and working on permaculture issues is one of the really kind of strong elements within the one of the ways that you can participate. And Jenny, who's on the Board of Trustees here, would just like to put out a bit of a call about how a particular section of our audience might participate more. So I'm going to hand over to you, Jenny.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm here to say this evening how wonderful and thrilling and exciting and growth producing it is to be a trustee of the Permaculture Association. And it's really a very life-enhancing activity. And I'm here to put out a call for people to come forward who would like to participate in this way. In particular, people who have a variety of skills, including financial skills to support the work that Philip has been doing. And also the board at the moment, as you can see, is notable by its gender imbalance and its color imbalance. So we are in particular looking for people of all diverse backgrounds and ethnic groups and so on, as well as more women to step forward, please. There's nothing scary. This crew is really very fun and friendly, and everybody has something to offer. So I would like, again, on behalf of the trustees, to issue an invitation. If you think you might like to be involved, please get in touch. You don't have to sign your life away. It is possible to take part initially to see whether you feel that you have something to contribute, and then to take that further if you feel that it is a place for you. So please do consider it and make yourself known. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jenny. So now for the election of officers, I'd like to hand over to Sandy, who will talk to us about who's standing down, who's standing up, and how we're voting. So I hand over to you, Sandy.
Thanks a lot, James, and thanks everyone from me also for coming along this evening. And so we have, let me just find the right slide before I start talking to you. So we have only James standing down, as you've already heard this evening, and I think everyone on the board would like to offer James a great deal of thanks. Certainly when I joined 2 years ago now, I was talking at the time about, you know, wanting to give something back and wanting a project to contribute to, but actually being on the board has just been a great deal of fun. And that's testament to the environment that we create as a group of people working together to further the aims of the association. And the leader of any group always sets a good deal of the environment. So it's thanks to James for doing a good job at that. We have two people standing to be on the board, and I'm very happy to say that we've worked a little bit with both of them already, and we on the board think that they're going to be great additions. And that's John Pennerley and Les Moore. And I think at this point there's an opportunity for them each to say a little bit to you. So maybe if we could take John first, and then we'll see how Les is doing on the M6.
Hello. First of all, I'm not John Pennerley, I'm John Keane. So
sorry.
It's a bit of a typo error. I don't really know what to say. Why am I standing for trustee? It could be a little bit because, as far as I can see, nobody else is putting their name forward. So there's the breach, and I feel that the association does lots of great work. It needs to continue, and if it doesn't have trustees, it can't continue. So that's why I'm putting myself forward. What can I offer? I've had a bit of a business career which involved board membership, so I have some commercial skills to offer. In addition, I spent many years as a trustee of a organization that supported people with their meditation practices. So I've seen some of the hard points of membership organizations and the need for trustees in those positions. I've been running with my wife a land project for a number of years now, Pennerley Permaculture. We get lots of visits from all over the world who pop in just because I think of our geographical closeness to where Robert Hart had his garden. And every time somebody comes, I just get that little bit more enthused, you know, and from that enthusiasm, again, I feel if I've got something to offer, I ought to offer it. The weakness that I have, I think, is that my lens of life started when the only television on the estate was a black and white down at the neighbours, and we all on the estate used to go round to the one house to watch it. So this kind of webinar is almost beyond my conception. I know it's happening, but I just can't understand it. And that's why I think it's really imperative that old geezers like me don't stand alone on boards of trustees. We need youth. I'll say no more.
That's great. Thank you, John. And Les, I'll give you an opportunity now to say something if you're able.
Thank you, Sandy. From a very slow-moving M6. Hello, everybody. I'm not sure how you're getting on with this board AGM, but it sounds great. I'm really pleased to be part of it. I've been shadowing the board for nearly a year now. It is a great learning opportunity, and I do recommend people to get involved wherever they can in the governance side of the association. I'm sure we've got much to discuss in the short time that's available to us, so I'll pass over to you, Sandy. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you both. So we've had the proxy voting form out to the membership for a little while, and hopefully those of you who would like have had a chance to cast your vote and to read what John and Les had written in advance of this meeting. So I am here to cast in proxy for all of the membership their votes as soon as someone hands them to me. As if by magic. So I'm very happy to say that both John and Les have been elected. The quorum for this meeting to elect trustees is 5% of the association's membership, which would be 70 people. And we have exceeded that actually more comfortably than we did the year that I was first elected. So I think that's a first suggestion that this has been a successful test of this new platform, and that's fantastic. So you can see the numbers on screen now. I believe that I have already stated them for the minutes, so I think we can congratulate John and Les on their election, and I'll pass back to James. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Sandy, and thank you all for voting and participating. I think as an organisation we have very strong engagement from members, and this is one of those events that's always kind of like a kind of harder to get people to contribute. So it's great to see so many of you actually did make that effort to do that. So next on our agenda is any other business and questions from members. So from our communications with you prior to this meeting, that was an opportunity to contribute. So I don't think we have anything which we might class in the any other business section, but we have had a number of questions. So myself and Andy would like to sort of go through these questions a bit now. Okay, so we had questions from a few different people, and people who asked questions asked more than one question many times. So to begin with, we have some questions from Elizabeth Westaway, and the first question there is, how is the Permaculture Association planning to increase awareness of the association and of permaculture on social media? So hopefully this event in itself online is part of the answer to that question. And the association also has presences on other social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. But I suppose the question implies that there's more that we might do. So Andy, do you have any other comments in regard?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so thank you for the question, Elizabeth. We've made some really big strides forward over the last few years in social media. We were blessed by having Ryan Sanford Blackburn join us for the IPC, or just before the IPC, and he's brought some really good skills to the association with respect to social media. More recently, we've had Sarah join and Dan, and the three of them are a really good team. Dan started the picture one, Instagram, and that seems to be going about 100 people a day at the moment, because he's very good at it. There's some of the statistics you can see, our working numbers in the annual review. So, you know, we have over 750,000 people visit the website. We have 7 websites. In terms of social media, we've got reasonably good Facebook, about 22,000 people, 4,000 on Twitter and so on. But yes, of course, we can do more. And I think really one of the big decisions we need to make over the next year is how we can bring more resources into the online world, because basically, whether we like it or not, that is where most people are getting their communications. And I think we're going to be making some proposals over the next few weeks and months, certainly the next few months, to ask members about how they communicate and how they want to receive information about the association's work and about each other's work, and how much of that needs to come from paper and how much of that comes from looking at emails and social media and websites. We spend about £11,000 a year on the newsletter, and that's money that could be spent in other ways. So yeah, I think since the association unfortunately doesn't have a magic pixie at the bottom of the garden with a pot of gold, we always have to make quite difficult decisions about what we can spend, and we'd like to kind of put those challenges out to members to think about when it comes to how we communicate best. So actually, you can kind of expect some thoughts and some proposals around that in the coming weeks and months.
Great, thanks, Andy. So when we have the slide up with the questions, you'll be able to see in more detail the full question that people asked. But I think with Elizabeth's second 2 questions, we might summarise them, that they're to do with generating revenue. So one is about enterprise, and Andy's spoken a bit about that already, and the other one is about social investment. So again, Andy, do you want to comment on a bit more about our enterprising and perhaps reflect on some of the particular examples which Elizabeth has suggested?
Sure. Okay, fine. So one of the things to say is, in terms of charity, you've got primary trading and secondary trading. Primary trading is the trading that you can do which furthers your aims. Secondary trading is the trading that you can do that is basically, if I sold you a teddy bear which said "We love permaculture" on the teddy bear, that would be secondary trading, because selling teddy bears doesn't do anything to further the mission of the Permaculture Association other than to raise money. So that's secondary trading. Everything that we do at the moment is primary trading. So when we're doing memberships or events or courses or education, that's all primary trading, and we can do as much of that as we like. It's only when we get into secondary trading that we need to start thinking about subsidiary companies. And at the moment, our level of secondary trading is so minimal that that's not a prospect. Now, that's just not to say that we shouldn't do it, but there's no plan at the moment to do that. I think the particular, things like calendars and online shop and so on, all of that we could do quite easily and well within the limits of what we've got so far. So yes, we could do more of that if we felt that was going to be a successful way of raising income. I think the issue about a trading standard like the Demeter or the organic certification is a much bigger issue, and it's not one that we had on the agenda at this point. it has come up a number of times, and it may be that this is over the next few months for next year, this is something that we need to consult members on and take forward, because we'll certainly think about strongly, because we're certainly aware that in Germany there is now a permaculture certificate, and I guess one argument is if we don't do it, someone else will. So yes, it probably is something to pay attention to, and that would make sense to do so. So thank you for that question, but we don't have an immediate answer to it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andy. So our next set of questions are 2 questions from Ange O'Brien. And again, you'll be able to read the full questions on the slide. I think if I was going to do any summarizing here, I think it's about how we sort of connect up with others and share and find information that we want. Ange's first question mentions about whether we have connections with Paul Wheaton's organization, Permies.com in America, which if you've not been to, has a rich range of forums on there with people sharing information. And Angie's second question is about if anyone knows about Hempcrete or can share information with Hempcrete with her. So what I take from these questions is, how can the Permaculture Association help facilitate better connections between members and other members of the permaculture community? So I don't know if you want to reflect on that at all, Andy, about our work in that kind of area, about connecting people up.
Yeah, okay, so fine. Certainly Permies.com, we're obviously aware of Permies, and we've invited Paul to the International Convergence in the UK. He wasn't able to make it, but we've certainly had communications. They do some fantastic work. I think our response to how we work together internationally has been the collab, and we're just getting into the exciting phase of that, which is all about starting with projects that would connect people up around a range of topics like international development, international education, international research, or research as applied locally and regionally and so on. So yes, I think the collab will be the forum where we would be bringing different networks, different organizations together, and we are aware of those other people too, and we'd be certainly inviting them to join that conversation.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Okay, so our final question is from Conan Connolly, and this takes quite a long form. Again, you can read it on the slide when you see that. But it harkens back to some things we've mentioned earlier here, that the Brexit process that we're going on at the moment is going to change some relationships within the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland. And I suppose Conan refers in particular here to the ideas of regional permaculture and international permaculture, and reflecting on, I suppose, bigger pattern stuff about how the Permaculture Association and all of us as members of the Permaculture Association might contribute to some of these bigger questions. So I think perhaps touching on some of this, when Andy's spoken about plans for 2018 and the Control Shift project, that might touch on some of this kind of stuff. So I don't know, do you feel there's a connection there, Andy? Where we're at with these kind of big kind of questions? We're into the realm of kind of politics here on one level.
Yeah, we are. And I think that the other thing that really is highlighted by this question is, I guess, a long-term, I don't know if policy is the right word, but I mean, I guess it has been a policy, whether it's been visible or not. So the Permaculture Association started as the Permaculture Association brackets British Isles. And the British Isles is a geographical term, which not everybody likes. And there was some disagreement about whether or not the Permaculture Association should represent Ireland as a whole island or not. Then there was a discussion about whether it should be the Permaculture Association United Kingdom. And there was further discussion about whether we were a United Kingdom and whether or not we should be a UK organisation, or whether we should try to represent the island of Britain, as in England, Scotland and Wales. And the decision, I know this because I've read all the minutes that the association has ever had. I'm nerdy like that. And this is way before my time. It's in the sort of early 80s and late 80s. And we settled on Permaculture Association brackets Britain, and Britain being England, Scotland and Wales. And whilst we've had members and had some fantastic members in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, we've never done an event, we've never organised anything, and we've never really pursued any work in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. And I think it's really interesting that we've got this question. I was on the phone today to someone who works in Southern Ireland who's very keen to talk about and think about how Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland permaculture networks can work together. I think if the Permaculture Association was to work in Northern Ireland, it would certainly need to be by invitation, and I think we'd need to do that carefully, and really to do it in a way which is empowering and enables and supports the people that are already there to do their work better and to do that effectively. Whether or not that means the association has an ongoing activity in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland is another matter. But yes, certainly in the context of Brexit and in the context of the questions and requests that are coming, then it seems like we should give this really strong consideration. So I would propose that the board look at this at future meeting, and maybe we take some soundings from our members in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland about how they think we could best support that work. So there's no easy or immediate answer, but thank you very much, Conan, for the question, because I think it is an important one.
Great, thanks, Andy. Sandy, our new chair going forward, who also has involvement with Permaculture Scotland and a kind of perspective on these islands, would like to chip in here, Sandy. So can I hand over to you there?
Yeah, certainly. I was just interested by this question, and it's, as you say, connections to regions within the United Kingdom or Britain or whatever scale we're talking about. Something I'm very keen to foster within the board is more active communication from the membership directly to the board and also to the staff of the association. And one way that I'm hoping to do that is by members of the board leading workshops at convergences, which are directly about what directions do you think the association could be going in? Are there any clear actions you can see? And then we, with our perspective of the association's strengths and what they don't have access to resource-wise, we can, respond and maybe build on some of those ideas. And one place that I'm hoping to do that will be at the European Convergence, which will be next summer in the Republic of Ireland, I believe. So yeah, hopefully see you there, and an invitation to get involved even without being a board member. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Sandy. So we're coming to the end of the 2017 annual general meeting now. So I'd just like to take this opportunity again to offer up some thanks. Thanks to all of our members for your continuing membership and contribution in a whole range of ways. Thanks to all of you that have watched live or later. Thanks to all of you that voted. All of you that have contributed in various ways, sending us in questions on the feed below the YouTube video. As I said at the start, this was an experiment, and we're learning as we go. And I think we've learned quite a lot from this, and I hope it's this is the early stages of something that kind of develop further and become more sophisticated and allow a whole range of new ways of communicating with the membership. So I'd also like to thank the staff of the association and the CEO for their continuing great work holding this together. It's a very small team doing a large amount of work on a range of different scales, and continue to be kind of astonished about what's achieved within the resources that we have. And as I stand down from the Board of Trustees now, I'd like to thank all current and former trustees that I've worked with for the convivial environment that we've shared and the useful work that we've done together. So with that, I think it's just time to say goodbye and see you again in a field or on a screen. Okay. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Bye, James. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Marvellous. So I wonder whether we should just turn the YouTube off and then just have a bit of a debrief, even just for a minute or two.
Okay, that's good with me.
So I don't know if Harriet or someone can take us off the live YouTube thing. Or maybe people just see us debrief. Is it off now?